everyone, welcome back to Shamzmakeupartistry. Today I do have a haul video to share with you, and most of the things I've already started using them, so I like to share an updated haul as well. Usually I like to do that way instead of just sharing what are the purchases that I've made. I'm sure most of us are aware that Sephora just had their Beauty Insider sale, so some of the stuffs that I picked up are from the sale. I'm still expecting some to still arrive, so I thought I would do with the ones I have first. So before we go into the haul, I would also like to share an update of the foundations that I've been trying out lately. So one of it has to be the Lancome. This is their Teint Idole Ultra Wear Sunscreen Broad Spectrum SPF 15 foundation, and I'm in the shade 450 Suede Neutral. So I do have this foundation in their stick version, which I really love. They do last on the skin well, especially when I tend to get more oily during spring and summer. And I've also used this foundation like a couple of years ago. Now the packaging has changed, but I believe the formula is pretty much the same. It still wears beautifully on the skin like it used to be when I used to try it out like a couple of years ago. And I am actually wearing the foundation on my face area today. So I do still need to blot my skin on the center point of my face, but overall this foundation does hold on the skin pretty well, and it's pretty full coverage foundation. For me, half a pump does it all. So if you need something like a full coverage or you want something light, you can just use it very lightly and then dab it over your skin to give you a natural finish. But it lasts throughout the day, especially if you're in a humid place. This is definitely a good one to go with. The other foundation that I've been trying out has to be the Dior AirFlash. This is the spray foundation, and I am in the shade 501. So I've been hearing a lot of like hype about this foundation. It is supposed to be water resistant, and it's a 12-hour wear foundation. You just have to, basically people say you spray over your face, but many of us don't want to do that. I tend to just spray it on my brush and then I dab it over my skin. With a beauty blender, it kind of soaks in a lot of products, so I do not use a beauty blender with this particular foundation. For me personally, I find that this is like an occasional kind of foundation. You do not need this on everyday basis because it's pretty pricey. And for me personally, I do not find it doing something very different from the foundations that I have already tried. So with this foundation, for the sake of getting it, you might not need it. So I do have like two more to share with you when it comes to foundation. And the next foundation that I have been trying is from TomFord, and this is the Traceless foundation stick. This is another foundation that is being hyped and I definitely want to try out. I'm all about foundations and concealers, and I picked out the shade 8.2 in Warm Honey. So this is a stick base, and for me personally, this foundation is a beautiful foundation. But when I tend to like apply it over my face, like some of the other stick foundation that I own, it doesn't work for me. It kind of looks very cakey on my skin. So I kind of like prefer to just pat in my brush and then dab it over my skin. I feel that way it works much better for me. It doesn't look cakey, it looks just like skin. But overall, this foundation is a very beautiful foundation. It does have like an olive oil kind of scent to it, but it's not oily on the face. It does last throughout the day that I've tried it on my skin. So I will try to do like a detailed review on the foundations that I've been trying, probably one by one, so that it can be more helpful for you guys if you're looking out for a foundation. So give me some time and I'll get that done. And the other foundation tinted moisturizer that I've been trying out is from YSL, and this is the Touche Eclat All-in-One Glow Sunscreen Fresh Dewy Makeup Medium Coverage Long Lasting Hydration Oil-Free Foundation. So this doesn't really say whether it's a tinted moisturizer or a foundation, but for me basically it's a tinted moisturizer, but it does give a good amount of coverage. For me, this does it all for an everyday kind of makeup, and sometimes when I need something very quick on the go, this does it all. I don't need much to cover my skin area, and I just dab it with my brush and then I put on some concealers and it does the job for me. But if you tend to have more of an oily skin, I personally would not recommend this particular foundation because it does get pretty shiny as the hours pass by. Now let's move on to concealers. I do have two concealers that I have purchased recently, and this one I've already started using it for some time, and it's by Josie Maran, and this is their Vibrancy Argan Full Coverage Concealer Fluid, and I am in the shade medium tan. This is for someone who needs a full coverage concealer under the eye. I personally only conceal mostly under the eye and also the sides of my mouth. So this one gives a full coverage. At the same time, it hydrates the under eye area for me because I do have like a dry under eye area. So this concealer does contain argan oil, so it helps to hydrate your skin, but it gives a full coverage. So if you do have like an oily under eye or oily skin where you need to concealer, this may not be it. But if you do have like a dry skin, this would really work well for you. It's a pretty thick consistency concealer, but it blends in beautifully. The other concealer that I got is from Nars, and this is their Radiant Creamy Concealer. This is just like a repurchase, but this really looks beautiful under the eye area, and it gives a pretty good coverage. And I picked out the shade Medium Dark Caramel. It's not too light, it's not too deep on my skin tone. Again, it's Medium Dark Caramel, and this is how the concealer itself looks like. So this is pretty well known kind of concealer, so I'm pretty sure you guys have seen the packaging of it. So this one is kind of like a repurchase because I've used up the very first one that I got. And the other one, which is a repurchase and I've already started using it, is the Hourglass. This is their Veil Translucent Setting Powder. I've already finished using my very first one. So finishing up a translucent powder doesn't happen really often. So I have pretty much been using this like on everyday basis. That's why I've completed using them. So I needed another one. Moving on to the next thing that I got is based on a YouTuber's recommendation, and it was recommended by Caitlin Lights. And this one is the Ilia. This is their Color Haze Multi Matte Pigment, and this is supposed to be a multi-usage kind of pigment that you can use it for your blush, or you also can use it for your lips. I also use this as an eyeshadow base. It does have a color to it, but it just gives a beautiful base as an eyeshadow color. And I picked out the shade Stutter, and I've already started using this. I usually tend to skip using liquid products over my face because I'm worried that they will slide off my face. But this one lasts all day long as a blusher, and it's really beautiful. And let me just do a swatch of it at the back of my hand, so hopefully you can see it. But it's such a beautiful shade. For those of us who have deeper skin tone, you will definitely love this. Even if you have lighter skin tone, you can make it work, can apply very mild on your skin. And this is how the shade itself looks like. So it's really beautiful, and it wears on the skin very beautifully as well, and it doesn't look oily or shiny on your face. And I really love this. I'm definitely looking forward to try out more shades from this range. So moving on to the next product that I got, which I have already started using. Most of it I've already started using them. Again, I love to give feedback while I do my haul with you guys. And this is by Fenty Beauty. This is their Sun Stalker Instant Warmth Bronzer in the shade Caramel Cutie. This one is a beautiful bronzer. It blends in very beautifully on the skin. I'm actually wearing the bronzer over my face area today. Like you can see, I've already started using it. This bronzer melts into the skin very well. It's easy to blend in. You don't have to work very hard with it. And you can also use it as a blusher. I like that because sometimes you just want to apply this with a very bold lip color and you want to be good on the go. So this is how the bronzer swatches like on my skin tone. I think I'm not doing a good swatch. Let me see. So if you can see, this is how the bronzer looks like. It's really beautiful. Again, this works as a blusher perfectly, and the packaging, it's really nice and sturdy. So this one has to be my favorite one currently as well. So I guess we are almost done with my haul come update. The other thing that I got is a repurchase of the TomFord Cream Color for Eyes eyeshadow or eyeshadow base kind in the shade Spice. So this is like a repurchase, but they pretty much have changed the packaging a little bit. The previous one was a little bit more bulkier and I think it was in a glass form, but this one feels like it's plasticky and I love this shade. That's why I had to repurchase it, and this is how Spice looks like. So it gives a beautiful base to the eyeshadow that you want to apply on the top, or you can just apply this by itself. It's good enough as well, but I personally like to apply it as a base and then I put my eyeshadows on the top so that my eyeshadows last a little bit longer than usual. The next thing that I got is a Charlotte Tilbury. This is their Cheek to Cheek blush in the shade Pillow Talk. So this one, of course, the Pillow Talk lipstick and lip liner is like a hyped kind of version in the makeup world. But for me, I felt that that would look very pale on my skin tone. So I decided to check on their blusher, which was recently launched. And I have been using this blush pretty much most of the time, and this is how the blusher looks like. And I'm actually wearing the blusher over my cheek area. It's a beautiful blusher. Swatch of it, I pretty much feel that it doesn't do it a justice at all. It looks very light on the skin, like an highlighter. So this is like a blush on the sides, and then on the center point it gives a shine to your face area. Overall, I've been totally enjoying this blush. So now that we are towards the end of the haul, I'd like to give you guys a quick update on an eyeshadow palette that I also recently purchased. And this eyeshadow palette has the best review on Sephora and also on Beautylish, because previously it was only available on Sephora, but now it's also available on Beautylish. So I got mine through Beautylish. So this is the Natasha Denona Biba All Neutral Eyeshadow Palette. This palette retails at $120. So the price point is really on the higher side of palettes. And for me personally, I find her palettes, when it comes to the mini palettes, they aren't my favorites. So I prefer the full version of palettes from her. So I definitely needed to get this. When I saw the review was like a total yes all the time. And if you guys know me, you know I love neutral shades, and this is definitely my kind of eyeshadow palette. So once this palette came at my door, of course I loved looking at all the shades, and the very first one is my favorite, which I'm actually wearing over my lid area today. But I noticed that the pans were not actually placed in properly into this palette, so you can hear them being very shaky. So I was very careful. Even when I put my brush into the very first shade that I've already dug into, I can hear the noise, so you know that it's not properly placed into the pan. And after watching one of the YouTuber while she was trying to do a tutorial, suddenly the shade just drops off right in front of her eyes. So I was very careful, in fact. But then comes another day when I was trying to apply the eyeshadows, I noticed this black eyeshadow just popped out all of a sudden. So it just came off. The same black shade was out in the other YouTuber's video as well. So I was pretty disappointed, because I don't understand why a $120 eyeshadow palette should be in this quality. Like, the shadows are very beautiful, no complaints whatsoever about the shadows and its pigmentations and the way it applies on the lids. But the way it's made, it kind of makes me feel that it's cheaply made. Like, they did not put an effort to make sure that everything is well done in the palette. So of course I wrote to Beautylish. For Beautylish, they refunded me back in full, and I got to keep this palette. I only had to send the pictures of the damage, but overall I could keep this palette with me, which I'm thankful. But the thing is, that's not what you want. You want a quality palette made for $120. Overall, I really like this palette. If you guys have purchased it, I'm pretty sure you would love this palette, but be very careful because it can easily get damaged. So that's my very quick update on the Biba palette. So I do hope that you enjoyed my haul come review. To my very next one, stay beautiful both in and out. Give me a thumbs up, share all the love to my channel. Goodbye.